Welcome to TIFF'S True Crime Series. Today we'll be talking about Gregory Green, a man convicted of killing his family twice. In 1991, he stabbed his first wife in the face and chest, killing her and her unborn baby. Gregory Green had been married to Tanya Clayton Green for 2 years. She was 6 months pregnant with their first child, and she had reported to friends that she was planning on leaving him. Before she could leave, Green stabbed her 10 times with a steak knife, killing her and their unborn child. Tanya Green had 2 young children that was also in the house that day, but they was unharmed in the attack. He called 911 and waited for the police to arrive. And when they arrived, he said, "I stabbed her. She's in the kitchen." Green served 16 years for murdering his first wife and unborn child. During his time in prison, he had a lot of support from a pastor who wrote on his behalf. This pastor, Pastor Apostle Fred Harris, he wrote letters on his behalf twice. Gregory and I were friends before his mishap and he was incarcerated. I feel he has paid for his unfortunate lack of self-control and the damage he has caused as much as possible and is sorry. End quote. He also wrote, "This will not restore the lives that were taken. He will carry that with him for the rest of his life." End quote. He also wrote the parole board a year later, again, writing, "While interacting with Gregory, I have noticed a great deal of growth and his understanding has matured quite a bit." End quote. Well, he got what he asked for, and he was freed after serving 16 years. And he actually ended up marrying the pastor's daughter. This is the same man who wrote the letters on his behalf, and he ended up marrying his daughter, and they were together for 8 years, and they had 2 children of their own.
Pointed out here that the father-in-law, Fred, was the pastor, and it was part of his ministry to try and help out people in prison. And when he got out in 2008, Gregory Green, when he got out, it was 2 years later that he married Fred's daughter. Back to you.
It's a lot of speculation about whether or not if Faith knew about his past, because his father knew him previously. He wrote the parole board twice, and he visited him in jail. Whether she knew or not, Faith Harris Green and Gregory Green were married 2 years after he was released from prison in December 2010. Chadney Allen Jr., age 19, and Kara Allen, age 17, were Faith Harris's Green children from a previous marriage. Keo Green, age 5, and Kaylee Green, age 4, were Gregory and Faith's 2 children they had during their 6 years of marriage before the attack. In 2013, Faith had filed for a restraining order, which was denied. In that application, she wrote, "We're filing for divorce. He's being belligerent, kicking things, threatening me, saying if I don't leave, things are going to get ugly. He jumped at me like he was going to attack me, and this went on for hours." She filed for divorce later on that year, but the paperwork did not go through. So in August 2016, she filed for divorce again. 1 month later, Green killed her 4 children and made her watch. On the night of September the 21st, 2016, Gregory Green taped a plastic tube to the exhaust of his car and poisoned his 2 youngest children with carbon monoxide from the exhaust fumes. He then took the children back to the family home, placed them in their beds, and he attacked his wife with a knife, slashing her face and the throat before shooting her in the foot and leaving her tied to a chair in the basement. Gregory Green gagged his wife, bound her with duct tape, zip-tied her wrists, and before shooting his teenage stepchildren in the basement in front of their mother, making her watch them die, before he then called the police, meeting them outside in the driveway.
Not even torture and death will be justice. Your justice will come when you burn in hell for all eternity for murdering 4 innocent children, all because you're insecure as a man. Plus the other 2 lives you took. You are a con artist, you are a monster, you are a devil in disguise. You are now forever exposed. I've thought over and over again what I would say, even though it doesn't even matter.
God knows the heart. He knows how regretful, how sorry I am. And even now, after all this, he still has a plan. And I'm not giving up on that plan. Because God is God. You know, and there's not one day that go by that I don't think of my girls. Not one day, often picturing them playing and talking to their Heavenly Father. And I pray that God be with Chad and Karen. I feel bad for how this has deeply impacted everyone. And may God help them, help me, help us all.
As I said, I am going to follow the sentence agreement. You're going to be sentenced to 45 to 100 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. Count 6 to 10 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. All will be consecutive or concurrent with one another and consecutive to count 10 for the felony firearm, which will be 2 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. You will receive credit for 161 days. You must pay $476 in state costs and crime victims assessment, the amount of $130, court costs in the amount of $1,300, attorney's fees in the amount of $400, and a $60 DNA fee. Since this was a conviction by plea, you can file an application for leave to appeal the conviction and sentence with the Court of Appeals. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you, and that request must be made within the next 42 days. Thank you. We're done.
Hey, ma'am, please.
Oh, are they
Gregory Green is a man who has shown his violence and disregard for those he's supposed to love. These are not features within him that prison time is going to rehabilitate. With his current sentence, Gregory Green will be at least 97 years old before he have any opportunity for release, meaning he'll probably spend the rest of his funky ass life behind bars, as he should. And as expressed by his devastated ex-wife, Faith Harris Green, who has to try to live a life without her children and live, with the thought that she married a man and thought she loved a man. But she yelled out, "You're a devil in disguise, and you are now forever exposed." Rot in hell, Gregory Green.